Hi, everybody in ECED 215. Wow. Yeah, honestly, I don't think you need my voice on the discussion board. I read and often think I have nothing more to add in terms of information or questions. This week was a perfect example. Orthopedic and health impairments can often be a challenge that we don't think a lot about. And I'm going to say this because we can see them. We see an orthopedic impairment, we see a health ailment, we see it. We know it's there. And so, for many of the ideas for inclusive care, this is probably the hardest topic to think about. I enjoyed reading and listening and thinking along with you in all the posts. I appreciated the Arna at, well, I got it listed here. Arna, Haley, Lauren, Sakish, Lourdes, Dale, Delay, sorry, Sassy, and Shyla, taking that idea of, and Asma, the idea of universal design and thinking about outdoor play. We spend so much time thinking about our indoor facilities that often our outdoor facilities, our outdoor play space, doesn't get quite the same attention in terms of inclusiveness. And the ideas and suggestions, and oh my gosh, I just want to, to highlight Sakisha's images and as well as Arma's images, Arna's images, just great ideas for us to think a little bit more. I mean, we can't do all the marvelous things on our childcare budgets, but maybe there's one thing we can do, one thing more we can do in our outdoor space when we go outside. How is it set up for everybody that's either in our program or potentially could be in our program? And thinking about that out loud. Just absolutely the ideas, the visions, the ideas. And I think Hannah Lee's piece as well. Hannah Lee talked about the idea of modeling in communities. So we're seeing things that happen in our communities that we can model within our childcare program, a ramp, maybe painting things a different color so we understand where the edge of something is. I think about the streets. I mean, my example comes from Okinawa, but there's many other examples around where the edge of the curves are painted in a contrast color, so those with impaired vision know where those edges come. So thinking about how can we take what's being done in society and model it in our playground. In many yeah, just thinking the next step. How can we make things more usable for all the potential children and staff that come to our program? Because there is the possibility we could have staff with physical impairments or health impairments working in our program. And how is our program set up to work with somebody that's in a staff member that's in a wheelchair or that's working on crutches or that's only working with one hand? So thinking about some of those orthopedic impairments and how they reflect to our families, our staff, and most of often our children. I'd like to thank Nalia, Cass, and Cherish for looking at the Clarissa story and thinking about that real challenge. And I think maybe it was Nalia that mentioned the whole idea about, do we raise things up or do we lower things down to work with different statures of children in our programs? And so what heights do we work with? If there's a standardized level for sinks, then have we put in the equipment that everybody can access the sink? And oftentimes everybody can climb up to the sink, but they can't reach to the taps on the sink. So something more to think about and how we adapt our program to meet the needs of the children that are in it. I also wanted to take a look at Anne Marie, Alicia, Justine, and MJ, looking at Jackson as an immune impaired. So we think immune compromised child who cannot attend our program. This could be happening for a long stretch of time. This could be happening for a week or two. Again, how do we support them? See you in 2 weeks when you get back. And I think it was MJ that mentioned that, I mean, everybody talked about technology and how we could use that, shared some lived examples, which really, really helps us know that it's not just an idea, that somebody actually has lived that experience and can actually work with it. The next piece was, I think MJ talked about two-way conversation so that Jackson can send things back to the program so that we're updated and we're still a part of Jackson's life. So thinking about that piece as well. How do we support that? We talk about illness. We have all sorts of policies about illness and wellness in childcare, but how can we support an immune compromised child in the program? I also like the idea of somebody talking about smaller groups. I think Justine mentioned the idea of smaller groups, thinking about, well, they can't be part of the larger group, but we're going to have a split off group with 2 or 3 children and sort of figure out how we can run that program separately so that they can still be a part of it. It's really, really challenging. My example comes from years ago when we had a child who was immune compromised and wasn't able to attend program for a fairly lengthy period of time. But we would turn on, we were at that time, it was, the video calling we did was not as smooth as it is today. But we would have it there so that they were a part of the group time. And that was their way of participating. It was sort of like signing into a TV show for 20 minutes so that they could sign in. They were part of the group, so they could do the good morning. They could sing the song. They could be part of the activity. Their name was called, and children got to sit beside the screen that we were using so that, who was Charlie sitting beside today. So it's always thinking about how can these children, parents, staff, be a part of the program? Thank you, everybody. Honestly, I don't know how you do it. I'm so impressed by this discussion board in this class. It is astounding, and it is probably one of my most favorite classes to drop in, but the one I'm feeling the least needed for, which is probably a good thing. I like to be there, and I'm still engaged with it. But you carry your class as your class, and I really do appreciate that.